Alright, ladies and gents, I'm going to be shooting this inside my semi. I'm going to do a story time, which would normally include the random number generator on my phone and a book full of stories. Just random things that have happened in my life, meaningful, random bullshit, whatever. But I'm actually going to ignore both of those. I'd also like to apologize in advance because I'm currently shooting this in Texas near the airport next to other trucks. So the likelihood that you will hear either airplanes in the background or other trucks is probably pretty high. So, but I feel like I need to do this story while it's still relatively fresh. About a week ago, yeah, sometime last week, I don't remember exactly what day. See, I'm already forgetting details. But I came really close to almost experiencing my first rollover, which I hope to never experience a rollover, but I came really close. Was hauling an empty trailer, drove through high winds, and from my perspective it looked like I reached that 45-degree tilt that you're not really supposed to come back from. But I'd also like to preface this story by I often tell people that I have good bad luck, in that a lot of bad shit has a tendency to be kind of thrown my way, but realistically it's not that bad. Like, I tend to walk away from it pretty good. Like, I can always see where everything else could have gone wrong. So I'm getting glare on my glasses from the front windshield. I could close the curtains, but I'm already hot, so I shut the truck AC off so that you didn't have to hear that too. So I got a couple windows open, and that's gonna do it until I'm done with this. But yeah, I was driving along down 35 in Iowa, and I could tell the wind was going to be an issue. It was throwing me all over the damn place, but it was one of those things. I also knew that I was pretty close to getting past the threshold, because the biggest issue was the fact that I was driving past farms, so there was no wind break. Like, it was just hitting, it was coming through and hitting me, versus it, having to go through trees or whatever. So I wasn't too far away from getting to the point where the wind no longer really was an issue. But I was driving down 35, I was going pretty slow relatively. Probably one of the things that kind of helped save it, but just before I came up, just to an overpass bridge that I was going over, maybe 80 feet long of a bridge. I mean, nothing, like really nothing of a bridge. But problem was the trailer started to tilt just before I got to the bridge, which, even though I was only going like 40, 45, something like that, I was still on the bridge by the time it really started to do its thing, which typically what will happen is when you get to a bridge, the wind will go under the bridge. It doesn't necessarily go for you, although it still can, obviously. But yeah, so it started to tilt. On the other side of the bridge was probably about a 25-foot drop off down to farmland, and yeah, and I wasn't just tilted this way, I was tilted up that way too. So I was looking down at the road while the driver's seat was, an extra few feet in the air. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm also getting distracted by stuff going on around me. Where was I? Oh. And it was one of those things I thought that I would be scared. Like, whenever the truck would start to roll over, I thought I'd, freak out and be like, oh, oh fuck, something. This didn't happen. I actually just pretty much immediately accepted that there's, I'm going along for the ride. I'm going over. And all I could do is hope that, the trailer took the brunt of it, and that I would just live through it. That was my best case, or that was my best hope. And then I started to go and realized, I was like, well, if I can get to this spot, just on the other side of the bridge, that when I roll, the trailer will take the brunt of it, and the passenger side of the truck will take the rest. And I was like, so that's one of those I should make it through, if not even walk out of the situation. So that became my goal, was to just get to that spot on the other side of the bridge, which again, was a fairly short bridge. It's not like it took me that long to get to that spot, but the truck trying to flip over didn't take any amount of time either. So, so I dove for that spot, and about, 15 feet before hitting that spot, my hood latches broke because my truck was on an angle. The hood was essentially acting as a parachute. All the wind was going underneath it, and it was just helping lift the truck up. Well, the hood latches gave out, they broke, the hood flew open. I couldn't see the road anymore, but I still knew that I was like on the right course. So I just followed through with it. And then I was able to get to the other side, and once I was on the other side, I just slammed on my brakes. Because again, I was like, speed is going to account into how much damage I take. And so I was just like, get as slow as going as possible. Hopefully I walk away from this. And so I got to that point, I slammed on the brakes, and truck and trailer both just fell right back down to the ground. And I, obviously everything turned out okay. I couldn't keep my hood down because the wind would blow it open as soon as I shut it, if I could shut it. There was times that the wind was blowing so hard I couldn't even push it down. But about 500 feet in front of me, there was another truck that wasn't so lucky. It had just flipped off the road, and like the police, fire truck, ambulance, none of those had even shown up yet. So they did show up before I would have been able to even get to them, but he did flip off the road really recently. And so after they got him sorted, which he did walk out, he walked away from it. They just helped him get out of his truck because he was kind of trapped in there. And then he gave me a couple bungees that flew off of his truck to try and hold my hood down so that I could get out of the cross breeze. Because my truck was still at risk of being blown over just because of where I stopped. But I couldn't see anything, and there was an accident ahead of me, so I couldn't pull forward either. And so yeah, that was kind of fun. And then the firemen helped me push my hood down. I tried to use the bungees to hold it down. They broke almost instantly. The ambulance and the firemen all left. There was a cop still there, and I asked her, I said, hey, can I just follow you, 1,000 feet up the road to get out of this wind that, you know, is still potentially going to flip my truck. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I can't see the road. I said, I can see the shoulder, you know, I can see through my mirrors, I can see the shoulder. I know I'm on the shoulder. But I said, I can see the lights on your car, but I cannot see the, you know, 100 feet in front of me. And so she's like, well, is that other trooper back there? And I said, no. And, you know, I looked behind my truck, there wasn't anyone there. She said, well, he should still be back there, go ask him. And I looked back, and sure enough, on the other side of the bridge, there was I could see the very, very top of a silver car. And so I was like, oh, that's probably him. And she ended up calling him up while I walked to the back of my trailer. But he gave me rope and helped me tie my hood down, which lasted, you know, not that long, but I was able to get out of that area. And then the wreckers who were coming to get that truck out of off the hill, off the highway, he came by and asked me if I could move because the wreckers needed to come in. I said, yeah. I said, I don't know where to go because, you know, I can't drive this back out on the highway. It was having, you know, the hood was still going up. Like eventually the ropes were going to break just from the hood bouncing. And so he's like, well, there's a, you know, fuel station a mile down the road that way, you know, small town. And so I was like, okay, and drove the truck over into there. Everyone in the store had seen me on the side of the road. One of them saw me almost flip. They were kind of curious how I even got to the gas station because they assumed I was in the ditch. But I bought a few more bungees there to help back up the rope, just, you know, to help try and hold everything down. Eventually I went back and I was able to do that to get me back to a different truck stop, an actual truck stop, and bought just some cheapo ratchet straps, and I used those to I hooked those. There was a metal bracket under the hood that I fed the strap through, and then I hooked them to the frame and ratcheted them down like as tight as I could, and that kept my hood down, so I was able to, you know, take it to get it fixed. But yeah, that was an interesting experience. So like on the one hand, it's like, oh no, I almost flipped, my hood latches broke, you know, that's bad. But I didn't flip. Like, and probably my hood latches breaking is probably what ended up saving my ass the most, because it did lose that parachute effect once they broke. You know, it just lost that extra surface to hit up against. But yeah, so that was a pretty fun experience. And of course I got to drive the trailer back and forth through that same spot that I almost flipped over another 2 times. Once to go back to the other truck stop, and then once again to get it fixed. But yeah, I felt like I would, instead of just having that in the list and me forgetting some of the details of it, I figured I'd just go ahead and record that now. So yeah, that's all. I'm gonna shut this off now. Maybe.